Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Anna Manuel. The accused Buffalo supermarket shooter was back in court today. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron was indicted by a grand jury on a first-degree murder charge. Authorities say Gendron live-streamed his attack that killed 10 black people at a Tops Friendly Market in a predominantly black neighborhood of Buffalo. Police say his attack was racially motivated, and he could face hate crime or terrorism charges as the investigation goes on. Gendron is currently on suicide watch. The sheriff of Erie County didn't hold back, saying the suspect is the most hated person in the country.
Aside from being the most notable inmate in this country, he's probably the most hated person in this country. So we would have taken these measures no matter if he had put the AR-15 to his head or not.
Players, coaches, and staff of the Buffalo Bills paying their respects to the victims of the deadly mass shooting at Tops Supermarket. They laid flowers at the memorial in front of the store and helped serve food at one of the local soup kitchens. They hoped their presence could provide some solace to the grieving community. Under growing pressure, President Biden is taking new steps to address the baby formula shortage. Madeline Rivera in Washington with details on those actions and whether they'll be enough to ease the crisis.
President Biden pulling out all the stops to tackle the nationwide baby formula shortage. He's invoking the Defense Production Act to make sure companies that make baby formula have the supplies they need.
I've directed my team to do everything possible to ensure there's enough safe baby formula and that it's quickly reaching families that need it the most.
The White House is also launching Operation Fly Formula to bring more products from overseas.
We'll be actually using our commercial cargo contracts to bring that formula physically from plants abroad to the United States more quickly.
Still, the Biden administration is facing growing criticism that it didn't act fast enough after Abbott Nutrition shut down its Sturgis, Michigan facility in February because of a deadly bacterial contamination.
They should have put in place a really aggressive education campaign to tell American parents, listen, there might be shortages, be aware of it, understand what's happening.
The FDA on the hot seat on Capitol Hill Thursday as the House Appropriations Committee presses for answers on why they didn't move sooner to address the shortage.
But it's hard to see any evidence that FDA has made it a priority to get this plant cleaned and cleared and back online.
Answers that parents throughout the country are seeking as they scramble to feed their children.
Drove almost 45 minutes because I have a newborn at home and I only got one more can and it's really expensive right now to get them in there backed up.
On Wednesday, the House approved a pair of bills that would increase access to baby formula and give the FDA $28 million in emergency funding to address the crisis. But their fate is uncertain in the Senate. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Asking rents reached a record high in April. The median monthly rent nationwide hit more than $1,900 in April. That's a record high. But there is some good news. According to Redfin, rents are starting to grow at a slower pace. The numbers show rents were up 15% in April compared with a year ago, but down from the 17% increase in March, the first slowdown in a year. Among metro areas, Austin, Texas recorded the fastest rising rents, up 46%, followed by Portland, Oregon at 33% and 31% in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Seattle. Rounding out the top 10 at a 28% gain is New York City, Newark, Nassau County, and New Brunswick, New Jersey. Only 3 top 50 metro cities saw rents actually drop: Milwaukee, Kansas City, and Minneapolis. New York City raises the COVID alert level back to high. While there is not a mask mandate, the New York City Health Commissioner is again advising people to wear a mask in public indoor settings. Older and higher risk people are also advised to avoid gatherings when possible. The city reports that hospitalizations from COVID have started to tick up again. Despite the warnings, the mayor says the city is ready to respond to the virus.
Variants are going to continue to come. It appears as though there's a new norm that is settling in our city, in our countries. Variants are going to come. If every variant that comes, we move into shutdown thoughts, we move through panicking, we're not going to function as a city.
Health officials are recommending that masks should be high-quality ones, like KN95, KF94, or N95. The Pharma Bro is now free. 39-year-old Martin Shkreli released from a federal prison in Pennsylvania Wednesday. Next, he goes to a halfway house at an undisclosed New York location to finish out the rest of his sentence. Shkreli was convicted of securities fraud in 2017 and was sentenced to 7 years in prison in March 2018. He was released early due to good behavior and completing education and rehab programs while locked up. Shkreli became famous in 2015 when his pharmaceuticals company raised the price of life-saving drug Daraprim by more than 4,000% overnight. Under growing pressure, President Biden is taking new steps to address the baby formula shortage. Madeline Rivera in Washington with details on those actions and whether they'll be enough to ease the crisis.
President Biden welcoming the leaders of Sweden and Finland to the White House today. Russia's invasion of Ukraine drove the countries to officially apply for NATO membership this week, but they're facing objections from Turkey. President Erdogan alleges the two Nordic nations support a terrorist organization that threatens his country. The White House is confident a deal can be reached.
Finland and Sweden make NATO stronger, not just because of their capacity, but they're strong democracies. And a strong, united NATO is the foundation of America's security.
Meanwhile, Ukraine says evacuation efforts continue at the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol. Russia's military reports more than 1,700 Ukrainian troops have left the mill. The Red Cross has registered hundreds of those fighters as prisoners of war. With the fall of Mariupol, Russia would get control over a key port along the Sea of Azov, as well as a land bridge connecting Crimea.
The forces in Mariupol for the Ukrainians had sort of done their job. There's not much more they could do.
As the fighting continues, Russia claims it is starting to use new laser weapons in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the move indicates Moscow's invasion has failed.
This shows that they are afraid to admit that catastrophic mistakes have been made at the highest state and military levels in Russia.
UK intelligence says Russia has fired some senior commanders due to poor performance during the invasion. In Kyiv, Greg Palkot, Fox News.
Your complete forecast is next. And later we look at how rising prices are hitting rural areas. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm meteorologist Sam Ryan. As we look back over the last 5 days, precipitation amounts picked up 2/100 of an inch officially here Thursday and Wednesday, just shy of 2/10 of an inch. And then temperatures, meanwhile, have been above average for our Thursday. Hit a high of 74 degrees, 2 degrees above the average for this time of the year. Now, I want to show you what's going to take place here as we head into, well, let's back up here. Friday, waking up Friday morning, let's start off there. 8 a.m. Notice we have a warm front that's lifted north of the area. So overnight, we're going to have this warm front lifting north, a chance at a few showers, and in that warm sector could have an isolated thunderstorm as well. Then jumping ahead into the day Saturday. So it would go from Friday morning until Saturday evening. So we're still in that warm sector during that entire time. But I wanted to point out we have an approaching cold front late Saturday. So along that cold front, we could end up getting Saturday, we could have scattered showers and thunderstorms, both morning and again evening. But as that cold front approaches Saturday night and really into the day Sunday, we could have some stronger storms, maybe even some severe weather along that cold front because it's very powerful. So we'll see the temperatures drop then behind that. Already the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted the entire state, well, not the entire state, but a bulk of it, upstate at least, we're underneath that threat of a few severe thunderstorms. Again, that's ahead into Sunday, so a lot could change between now and then. Still high level of uncertainty, but enough confidence to warrant that highlighting area of severe weather potential at least. Warm and humid here as we go through the day Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Thunderstorm threats, and then that strong cold front Sunday producing that chance at a few strong to severe thunderstorms. The main threat right now, just looking at it, hail and damaging straight line winds. We've already seen that along the front as we went through Thursday, through portions of Minnesota, for example. That's all heading east. 79 at noon, 86 at 5 p.m. as we go through the day Friday. So again, in that warm sector, chance, there we are, brushed by a little chance of some thunderstorms late afternoon Friday into the evening, then it clears out. Saturday we could have sort of the same thing, and then that cold front will be the main show. Not a whole lot of rainfall here expected so far. That's one computer model. But if we get hit by a thunderstorm, of course, it could be much higher. So it'll be in the mid-80s, warm and humid for the afternoon. Those chance of a few thunderstorms. Average high is 73. And then look at Saturday. All the way up into the 90s we go. Taste of summer, but spring isn't done just yet. We'll have that strong cold front moving through Sunday. Some strong to severe storms possible. And then it cools off. Kicking off the work week, we're back in the mid-60s on Monday.
Investors, and that includes just about anyone with a 401k, may be on pins and needles today. The markets took a huge hit yesterday, and consumers are facing everything from rising prices to baby formula shortages. Doug Luzader has more today on what the White House intends to do.
The administration is taking new measures now to deal with the severe shortages of baby formula, but the bad economic news keeps piling up. It may come as no surprise now that gas prices went up yet again overnight. In fact, J.P. Morgan predicts the nationwide average will exceed $6 a gallon by the end of the summer.
That's just pure crazy for people to pay that much for a gallon of gas. I'm thinking of going electric myself.
The markets yesterday tanked because of a combination of rising prices across the board and higher interest rates. Big retailers like Target and Walmart were hit hard because their costs are soaring.
This is just a big punch in the face of the numbers you're seeing in prices of everything right now.
That's not something that we keep an eye on every day, so I'm not going to comment about that from here.
The White House says they don't really follow the ups and downs of the markets, but they are taking action on the baby formula crisis, which has now landed at least 2 infants in the hospital whose parents were unable to access the special formula they need.
They can't absorb these other formulas, and they end up getting dehydrated and falling behind.
And the president has now invoked the Defense Production Act.
I've directed the Department of Defense and the Department of Health and Human Services to send aircraft, planes overseas to pick up infant formula that meets U.S. health and safety standards so we can get it on the store shelves faster.
And lawmakers here on Capitol Hill have plenty of questions about these shortages. It turns out the government has known about this looming crisis for months now. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
A unique legal battle is quite literally addressing the elephant in the room, as attorneys in New York argue whether human rights apply to animals in the case of one of the Bronx Zoo's elephants. Ashley Stromier has more.
A gentle giant is at the center of an ongoing fierce legal battle over whether animals are entitled to the same human rights as people. This is Happy, an Asian elephant who's called New York City's Bronx Zoo home for the last 45 years. But attorneys representing animal advocacy group, the Non-Human Rights Project, say Happy should be sent to a wildlife sanctuary, accusing the zoo of keeping her isolated from other elephants.
The deprivation of the bodily liberty is being confined in alone and in a 1-acre pen.
Lawyers are using habeas corpus as one of their main arguments for Happy's release. The legal term refers to the process where someone can claim a person is being illegally imprisoned, resulting in a court review over their detainment, raising the question, will the New York State Court of Appeals consider Happy a human?
Elephants aren't just autonomous, but they're also cognitively complex, emotionally intelligent, altruistic, highly communicative.
It's a sticky situation because New York State's habeas corpus law doesn't define what or who is classified as a person. But judges fired back Wednesday.
So does that mean that I couldn't keep a dog? I mean, dogs can memorize words.
While also questioning the difference between Happy living in her zoo enclosure and living in an enclosed elephant sanctuary instead. Attorneys for the Wildlife Conservation Society at the Bronx Zoo maintain Happy is in fact happy and healthy. Court proceedings are expected to continue. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
If you think you're paying more for gas, groceries, or even a candy bar, you are correct. Inflation is affecting the U.S. now more than ever, and some areas have it worse than others. Joy Addison joins us with more.
Inflation hits rural areas hardest because of the extra cost that it takes to transport things to areas that are more remote. I'm here in Midland, Texas, and the nearest major city is Dallas, nearly 5 hours away. Inflation here is through the roof, and people like the owner of this business behind me, as well as everyday residents, say it's tough.
I mean, it's hitting the pocketbook. Groceries, utilities, gas. So we're seeing it everywhere, and it's hard.
Inflation is hitting the U.S. with a rate of 8.3%, the highest we've seen since 1980. People in this West Texas town of Midland say it's hitting them hardest.
We're somewhat isolated between El Paso and Dallas, Fort Worth, and so there's a lot of distance, and it takes you 4 or 5 hours to go to either one. So travel costs, transportation costs, that raises prices.
Midland has a population of just over 140,000, but it's giving big cities like New York, Phoenix, and Dallas a run for their money when it comes to inflation. It's had the highest rate in the country for the last 6 months. Bill Kent owns more than 15 businesses in the area, including gas stations and restaurants. And he says workers want higher wages.
There's not a single business that we have that it's not impacting. The drivers, trying to hire truck drivers out here for our transportation business, and it's everything from entry-level people we hire for our stores and truck stops to receptionists.
The rising prices are pushing more people to need help feeding their families. The West Texas Food Bank says over the last few weeks, the number of families it serves has tripled.
Most of the clients we serve, 27 to 30% of them have never needed any form of public assistance before. And most of them have jobs or they're elderly who are on a fixed income. So the face is different. Their rent has gone up. They cannot keep up with the price of groceries that they're seeing right now in the grocery stores. And they can't keep up with the cost of fuel.
Last week, the Federal Reserve said it may continue to raise interest rates until it sees inflation rates drop. This will make it more expensive to borrow money, which should slow spending. In Midland, Texas, Joy Addison, Fox News.
A modern marvel in Colorado. New technology allows a paralyzed man the opportunity to drive a race car. Kim Posey has more on how it works.
Yeah, this was pretty incredible. This paralyzed man was able to control the throttle of a race car by his thoughts using a microchip implanted in his brain along with other technologies. This is German Aldana Zuniga getting into a NASCAR race car at Pikes Peak International Raceway in Fountain. German was in a car crash and is paralyzed from the waist down and has limited mobility of his arms and hands. But here he goes, driving a race car around the track with a safety driver by his side. He's able to control the throttle with his thoughts, and he can steer with his helmet. This is all thanks to Fauci Adaptive Motorsports' brain-controlled driving technology.
I never would have thought I would be able to do this.
So he controls all acceleration and throttle just by thinking. The rest of it he's doing with our helmet, which detects movement for steering, and he can brake in an emergency by sipping back in a straw, which engages the brake.
German is amazed at what he can do, and he is excited about all of the opportunities this technology could create. This was also very special because German had his accident before he ever got his driver's license. So this was the first time he had ever really been behind the wheel. Kim Posey, Fox 31.
Well, we want to leave you with a smile. The hobby of kids everywhere is back as a worldwide contest. Paper plane competitors and fans of fun aerodynamics from around the world gathered in Salzburg, Austria Saturday for the Red Bull Paper Wings event, the first since 2019. The competition is considered the World Paper Plane Championships in throwing distance and aerobatics, or throwing maneuvers. A competitor from Serbia won for distance throw at over 200 feet, and a plane thrower from South Korea won in the aerobatics competition. From our whole team, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.